Today is a pivotal moment in my life. Not only am I sharing my story with you, but I feel as though I am being stripped bare by God. I'm honored to be asked to share what my life experiences have been thus far, but I am humbled that God allowed me to experience them so that I may be used as a vessel for His glory. I was completely empty and determined to quit. I plotted a plan so that I could be without all of it. With a glass of water and a few pills in my hand, I couldn't turn to God, for I was a sinful man. I was sitting in silence, and my voice was suddenly gone. There was no way that I could keep going. I was feeling so alone. No one would have believed me. I just didn't seem like the type. Shame and guilt rose in me that I had to go tonight. Tears poured down my cheeks as I heard the familiar words echo. You are needed for this generation. With your life, the lost you will show. You will touch many across the world, and your struggles will be told. There will no one be left questioning that you are mine, and so is your soul. I still picked up the glass, even after remembering those words. I knew I was totally unworthy, and that my life needed to be purged. All the pain that I had just caused by sinning against my Father, I could not see how I could live. I didn't deserve His love any longer. And in the midst of my pain, I heard a cry. It was my baby girl not wanting to say bye. And as I picked her up, tears flowed down my face. For a second, I thought, without me, she would be better in this place. And as I looked into her eyes, she looked so much like me. There was no way that I could leave and just let her be. I threw the bottle in the trash, and I cried as I walked her in my arms. But the pain that was inside was causing so much harm. How could I overcome this? How could I ever hold my head up again? I am so undeserving of His love. There was no way to get away from my sin. And He came to my rescue. I heard Him from a distance. My God called me by name because He's the God of repentance. Lord, I cried aloud, save me from myself. I have done so much wrong. I have nothing left. And as I looked into my arms, I heard Him whisper, your gift. And the enemy, as I heard Him whisper, your gift. My baby smiled at me and my pain began to lift. The enemy had a plan for me. It was to be to my demise. But my God looked past my wrongs, and with His holy eyes, He saw who I was, not who I had been living as. And He knew that I was worth much more, and that this too shall pass. There was so much shame associated in admitting my flaws, faults, and failures. I just couldn't fathom after actually coming to terms with reality. To tell my family, hey guys, I'm having a baby, and no, I'm not married. This is unplanned. It just seemed so wrong. And at one point, I was a teacher of abstinence to little girls. Here I was, a first-year doctoral student on a graduate student salary. How could I provide for a child? I could barely take care of myself. And my parents, that was who I was scared of telling. But it was the young men and women who I have lived my life as an example for that bothered me the most. I remember telling Angie, there's no way that they will ever look up to me as a role model again. Look how bad I messed up. I was unmarried and suddenly feeling isolated. I entered a roughly 3-week journey deciding whether or not motherhood was for me. The control that I wanted to exert over my life was a huge hurdle. Up until that point, everything that I had stood for I was pretty accomplished. I went to a top undergraduate institution. I got a master's degree at a young age. I had a very successful track and field career, and I was working on my PhD. For years, I had passed by the Crisis Pregnancy Center every year on my way to work, every morning. And I always thought, I am so glad that the Crisis Pregnancy Center is there for those women. Unbeknownst to me, I would become one of them. I remember the drive from my team meeting at the office to CPC. I was so silent. But but my thoughts were so loud in my mind. Tears were streaming down my face, and the controlled person that I am was anxious to dab my eyes so that I would not mess up my perfect makeup. She said, "It's positive. Angie, I know you needed to be the deliverer of the news." See, this was not what I had pictured about finding the first time that I would become a mother. Here I was alone in a room with a stranger, without my family who lived 10 hours away, and without my friends. I was extremely unhappy, and I just wanted to scream, "This is not my life." I remember telling my ex-boyfriend, "Hey, I'm pregnant." But I realized that it was not about him. My 3-week journey of deciding whether or not to become a mother consisted of prayers from the CPC staff, overwhelming support from my parents. And I decided to go along with all of my normal responsibilities to pretend as though nothing really was happening. I wanted to ignore this so-called tragedy that I had somehow come across. It all culminated in a buffet restaurant with 2 beautiful women who seemed so perfect in my eyes. They shared with me their decisions on how to handle their situation to end the life. I remember not looking at the ultrasound picture for 5 months because I was so disgusted at the thought of being an unwed mother, being a single mother, being away from my family, my friends, and messing up what seemed like such a perfect life that God had blessed me with. My pastor said a few weeks ago at church that we don't want to mess up our blessings, you know? And at that moment, that's exactly what I felt like. I felt like I was just gambling with God's grace. I could not think in that pain that this was to be my plain life, a single mother. But I couldn't imagine being the beautiful woman who sat in front of me, who still 30 years later thought of the loss of her child because of the hands of her own decision. I couldn't bear it. So in the parking lot of the restaurant, I canceled a second abortion appointment. I can never express with words or accomplishments of my life how grateful I am for that buffet lunch. And from that point on, I was different. I had the easiest pregnancy. Low weight gain, no morning sickness. I actually forgot sometimes I was pregnant until I could see my feet. But I remember on my 26th birthday, I tried so hard to push out my baby girl who wanted to enter this world as a stubborn reflection of myself. And with the help of Bonnie Collins, my angel, although I don't remember certain moments, the 3 days in the hospital, on December 9th, 2011, at 12:51 a.m., Camille was born, and she had to be walked out because she was crying. But it was finally a beautiful moment as I got to look at a miniature version of myself. Then it all came to a halt. It was so overwhelmingly real. I couldn't take it. By myself and as a student? No. The world could not have been meant for me to live this life. And in that moment, a bottle of Tylenol PM became the quickest way to get over the past 9 months of stress, burden, hate, anger, regret, sadness, doubt, and resentment. But as she lay there and she would not stop crying whenever I put her down, I had no hands to pick up the 5th pill. So I looked at her face and I cried with her and I said, "Why, Camille? Why me?" I was then diagnosed with postpartum depression 2 days before Christmas. And I struggled to make it back to Bloomington from my parents' home in Virginia. Because I was so disappointed. I had so much fear and doubt that I struggled to make an effort to finish school. I remember Bonnie telling me, every day things will become a little easier. The pain will hurt a little less. With the support of my pastors, my co-workers, and my big brothers in my piece of program, she was right. Over time, things did become routine. Teach classes, take classes, do research, go to work. Oh yeah, and I was taught too. Then came a tour of the Hanna house in the spring. To see that there were young women who had so much less than me. To see that they did not quit. I walked upstairs, I looked into the beautiful rooms and the bedrooms, the kitchen, and the washroom area. It was so neat, so immaculate. It looked almost perfect. But the souls that occupied the home were just as broken as I was. They had love, compassion, and encouragement, just like I did. My thoughts were immediately silenced. And that was the day that God was able to offer me a chance at reconciliation with him. And that's the poem that I opened with tonight. And I opened the gates of my life to expose my experiences to others. This opened the door for me to forgive myself, to actually consider that Camille wasn't worth the fight. My story is my own, but my experiences are meant to be shared. There are many women, men, and children who benefit from the Crisis Pregnancy Center. My daughter Camille would not be here without the counseling, prayers, words of encouragement, and loving words from the CPC staff. Both Angie and Bonnie saved my life, and they saved Camille's life. In the eyes of the world, I had the perfect life until I got pregnant. And now in my eyes, I have the perfect life as a mother. CPC is not a community organization. It's a life organization. It exists to build confidence, strength, and security. It demonstrates how love does not judge and it is not shameful. For me, the Crisis Pregnancy Center is a place of resilience. And that is the woman that I've now become. In less than a month, I would take my qualifying exams for my doctorate.
Yes, Jesus.
And Camille will still be here. When I graduate and I become a leader in my field, Camille will still be here. And if I had not made that drive across campus and met Angie, talk with praying women about their experiences with abortion, received counseling and unsolicited prayers, and had Bonnie with me during my birth. In short, if the Crisis Pregnancy Center had not been there,